What happens when the world's biggest female singers stop acting like superstars and start acting like criminals? These women had everything: fame, money, awards, millions of fans, and careers most people could only dream about. But behind the hit songs were violent fights, addiction, courtroom scandals, public meltdowns, and lives spinning completely out of control. Some destroyed their own careers overnight. Others became so controversial that even loyal fans turned against them. And one singer on this list went from global pop icon to sitting inside a prison cell after a scandal so disturbing it shocked the entire music industry. So who fell the hardest? Which female singer became the most hated after her scandal? And which downfall still feels impossible to believe even today? 20. Cardi B. Before the courtroom headlines and assault accusations, Cardi B looked completely unstoppable. She came from internet chaos and strip club culture, then somehow transformed herself into one of the biggest female rappers in America. Songs like Bodak Yellow turned her into a global star almost overnight. She was loud, fearless, controversial, and millions of fans loved her because she felt more real than most celebrities in the music industry. But the same chaos that made Cardi famous slowly started following her into real life. As her fame exploded, stories about fights, aggressive behavior, and public outbursts became impossible to ignore. Then came the scandal that seriously threatened her image. Prosecutors accused Cardi B of being involved in organizing violent attacks against bartenders during a strip club dispute in New York. Suddenly, one of music's biggest stars was walking into courtrooms while headlines focused on assault charges instead of hit songs. The backlash grew fast. Critics began questioning whether Cardi's unfiltered personality was actually becoming dangerous. Videos of her screaming at people online, throwing microphones during public incidents, and constantly surrounding herself with drama only made the situation worse. The woman once praised for being entertaining now looked reckless and completely consumed by her own public chaos. Eventually, Cardi accepted a plea deal connected to the case, avoiding prison but permanently damaging her image. Because once violence and criminal accusations entered the story, the chaos no longer looked funny to the public. Cardi B didn't just become controversial. She became proof that sometimes the same behavior that creates celebrity fame can also destroy it. 19. Nicki Minaj. For years, Nicki Minaj didn't just dominate female rap, she practically controlled it. Every album exploded, every feature became a hit, and her fanbase defended her harder than almost any celebrity fandom on the internet. At her peak, Nicki looked untouchable, loud, confident, glamorous, and powerful enough to survive scandals that would destroy most artists. But over time, the controversy around her stopped feeling temporary. Instead of headlines about music, more and more attention started shifting toward public feuds, aggressive online behavior, and disturbing legal drama surrounding the people closest to her. Then came the backlash that seriously damaged her image. Nicki's husband became the center of major controversy because of his criminal past and legal problems, while accusations involving harassment and intimidation connected to people in Nicki's circle created even more outrage online. Suddenly, fans weren't just debating her music anymore. They were debating her judgment, her behavior, and whether fame had made her believe she could defend anything without consequences. The situation became even messier as Nicki continued attacking critics online, fighting with other female rappers, and turning nearly every controversy into a public war. What once looked fearless slowly started looking unstable and exhausting. The biggest problem was that Nicki no longer looked like someone escaping drama. She looked like someone feeding it constantly. Even loyal fans began admitting the chaos around her was becoming impossible to ignore. Because while Nicki Minaj never fully lost her fame, the scandals permanently changed how millions of people viewed her. She didn't just become controversial, she became one of the most divisive women in modern music. 18. Whitney Houston. There was a time when Whitney Houston sounded almost untouchable. Her voice dominated radio, movies, award shows, and entire generations of music fans. Songs like "I Will Always Love You" turned her into more than a singer. Whitney became a global icon, the kind of celebrity people believed would stay legendary forever. Elegant, beautiful, and impossibly talented, she looked like the perfect superstar from the outside. But behind the fame, her private life was collapsing much faster than the public realized. As the years passed, rumors about drug use, toxic relationships, and emotional instability started surrounding her career. Interviews became uncomfortable to watch. Live performances grew unpredictable. Then the scandals exploded publicly. Drug-related incidents, police involvement, and shocking footage of Whitney's deteriorating condition completely changed the way the world saw her. The image was heartbreaking. One of the greatest voices in music history suddenly looked exhausted, fragile, and consumed by addiction. Fans who once watched her perform in glamorous gowns were now watching tabloid headlines about crack cocaine rumors, erratic behavior, and hotel room chaos. The woman who once represented perfection no longer looked in control of her own life. What made Whitney's downfall so disturbing was how public it became. People weren't simply watching a celebrity struggle. They were watching a legend slowly disappear in real time, while cameras followed every moment. And even though Whitney remained famous until the end, the scandals permanently overshadowed parts of her legacy. Because once addiction took over, the voice that made her untouchable was no longer enough to save her. 17. Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse became famous for sounding different from everyone else. While pop music was becoming cleaner and more manufactured, Amy looked raw, emotional, and completely unpredictable. Her voice felt old school. Her lyrics felt painfully personal, and albums like Back to Black turned her into one of the most respected young singers in the world almost overnight. But the darker her music became, the darker her real life started looking too. As fame exploded around her, Amy became trapped inside constant addiction, toxic relationships, and public self-destruction. Paparazzi followed her everywhere as videos of drunken behavior, drug use, rumors, and emotional breakdowns spread across the internet. Then came repeated arrests, violent incidents, and growing concerns that she was losing control completely. The shocking part was how visible the collapse became. Amy often appeared on stage, barely able to perform while millions of people watched clips of her spiraling online. Instead of looking like a rising superstar, she started looking like someone slowly destroying herself in front of the entire world. Even worse, the chaos surrounding her became part of her celebrity image. Tabloids treated her addiction like entertainment, while fans watched her health collapse publicly. What made Amy Winehouse's downfall so tragic was that people could see exactly where the story was heading, but nobody seemed able to stop it. Because, by the end, Amy was no longer just famous for her music. She had become one of the most disturbing symbols of fame, addiction, and public self-destruction in modern celebrity culture. 16. Megan Thee Stallion. Megan Thee Stallion rose to fame, looking fearless. She had the confidence, the viral personality, and the kind of dominance that made her feel impossible to ignore. Hit songs, massive collaborations, Grammy wins within just a few years. Megan transformed herself into one of the biggest women in hip-hop, while millions of fans celebrated her as the new face of female rap. Then one night changed everything. Suddenly, Megan's name was no longer attached to music headlines. It was attached to gunshots, police investigations, courtroom testimony, and one of the most explosive scandals the rap industry had seen in years. After the shooting incident involving Tory Lanez became public, the internet immediately turned chaotic. Fans, celebrities, bloggers, and even other rappers began choosing sides, while conspiracy theories flooded social media nonstop. The situation quickly became bigger than the case itself. Every interview, every tweet, and every public appearance turned into another online war. Megan claimed she was traumatized and publicly humiliated, while critics accused her of lying, exaggerating, or using the scandal for sympathy. Instead of receiving universal support, she became one of the most attacked women on the internet during the trial period. That was the moment her image changed permanently. Before the scandal, Megan looked powerful and untouchable. Afterward, she looked trapped inside endless controversy that followed her everywhere. Even after courtroom victories and public support from major celebrities, the backlash never fully disappeared. Because once the scandal consumed the internet, Megan Thee Stallion stopped being viewed as just a rapper. She became the center of one of the most toxic celebrity wars in modern music culture. 15. Key Dollar Ha. At one point, Key Dollar Ha looked like the wildest party girl in pop music. Songs like TikTok turned her into a global superstar almost overnight, while her chaotic image became part of the brand itself. Glitter, alcohol, crazy nights, rebellious behavior, everything about Key Dollar Ha felt loud, fun, and completely out of control in a way fans loved. But behind the party image was a much darker reality. As her fame exploded, rumors about emotional struggles, pressure inside the music industry, and serious personal problems started growing quietly in the background. Then came the scandal that changed her career forever. Ha publicly accused producer Dr. Luke of abuse, manipulation, and psychological control during the years they worked together. The music industry instantly became divided. What started as a legal battle quickly turned into one of Hollywood's ugliest public wars. Courtroom documents, disturbing allegations, leaked details, and emotional interviews transformed Ha from a carefree pop star into the center of a massive controversy involving power, control, and abuse inside the entertainment industry. The most shocking part was how trapped she looked. Fans watched her cry outside courtrooms while online debates exploded over whether she was telling the truth. Some celebrities defended her publicly, others stayed silent. Meanwhile, her career stalled as legal battles dragged on for years, making it feel like the woman who once dominated pop music had suddenly disappeared into lawsuits and emotional exhaustion. Ha didn't go from fame to prison like others on this list, but she did become one of the clearest examples of how quickly fame can turn into public suffering once the industry turns against you. 14. Lauryn Hill. Very few artists reach the level Lauryn Hill reached during her peak. After the miseducation of Lauryn Hill, she wasn't just successful, she was treated like a genius. Critics praised her as one of the most important voices in music. Fans saw her as authentic in an industry filled with fake personalities, and her influence completely changed hip-hop and R&B forever. Then she vanished from the spotlight almost as quickly as she rose. As the years passed, Lauryn became increasingly isolated from the music industry. Missed performances, strange public behavior, and growing rumors about financial problems slowly damaged the mysterious image fans once admired. But nobody expected the scandal that came next. Federal prosecutors accused Lauryn Hill of failing to pay taxes on millions of dollars earned during her career. The story shocked people because she had once represented intelligence, artistry, and control. Suddenly, one of music's most respected women was standing in federal court facing serious legal consequences. Headlines exploded as fans watched Lauryn explain herself publicly, while critics accused her of arrogance and believing she was above the system. Then came prison. Lauryn eventually served time in federal prison for tax evasion, permanently changing her legacy. The woman once celebrated as a revolutionary artist was now associated with courtroom scandals and criminal charges instead of groundbreaking music. What made the downfall feel so tragic was how unnecessary it seemed. Lauryn Hill didn't lose public respect because audiences stopped loving her talent. She lost it because years of isolation, ego, and bad decisions slowly pulled one of music's brightest stars into self-destruction. 13. Lil' Kim. Before the prison sentence, Lil' Kim looked larger than life. She helped redefine female rap with a level of confidence, sexuality, and fearlessness that shocked the music industry. At her peak, Kim wasn't just making hits, she was becoming a cultural phenomenon. Flashy fashion, outrageous interviews, and non-stop attention turned her into one of the most recognizable women in hip-hop. But behind the fame was a much more dangerous world. As her celebrity status grew, so did her connection to violence, street drama, and the people surrounding her career. Then came the scandal that destroyed everything. After a shooting involving members of her entourage outside a New York radio station, federal investigators accused Lil' Kim of lying under oath to protect people connected to the incident. The fallout was massive. One of the biggest female rappers in America suddenly became the center of a federal criminal case involving guns, courtrooms, and perjury charges. Cameras followed her everywhere while headlines mocked the idea that a superstar worth millions was risking her entire future to cover for people around her. Then came prison. Lil' Kim was sentenced to federal prison for perjury, stunning the music industry. The image felt surreal. A woman once celebrated for luxury, fame, and power was now standing inside a courtroom waiting to lose her freedom. What made the downfall even darker was that the scandal permanently changed her image afterward. Before prison, Lil' Kim looked untouchable. After prison, she looked like another celebrity, consumed by the same chaos she once turned into entertainment. 12. Brandy. For years, Brandy had one of the cleanest images in music and television. She was talented, beautiful, successful, and seemed completely different from the chaotic celebrities constantly filling tabloids. Between hit songs, acting roles, and her America's sweetheart reputation, Brandy looked like someone whose career would stay safe forever. Then one tragedy changed everything. In 2006, Brandy became involved in a horrific car accident on a Los Angeles freeway that resulted in the death of another driver. The moment the story hit the media, public opinion shifted almost overnight. Suddenly, the singer once associated with family-friendly fame was facing investigations, lawsuits, and non-stop headlines tied to a fatal crash. The scandal became emotionally devastating. Even though Brandy was never criminally convicted, the backlash surrounding the accident permanently damaged her image. Interviews became uncomfortable, public appearances felt tense, and fans started seeing sadness and guilt attached to her name instead of confidence and success. What made the situation even darker was how isolated she seemed afterward. Brandy later admitted the tragedy emotionally destroyed her and pushed her into deep depression. The same woman who once looked untouchable in the entertainment industry suddenly appeared fragile, overwhelmed, and haunted by a single moment that changed multiple lives forever. Because after the accident, Brandy was no longer just remembered for her music. For millions of people, she became connected to one of the most tragic celebrity scandals of the 2000s. 11. Remy Ma. Remy Ma entered hip-hop with the kind of energy that immediately felt dangerous. She was aggressive, confident, unapologetic, and quickly became one of the few female rappers respected in a genre dominated by men. Backed by Terror Squad and praised for her raw lyricism, Remy looked like the next major star ready to take over rap completely. Then everything collapsed in one night. After a dispute outside a nightclub in New York, Remy was accused of shooting another woman over missing money. The allegation shocked the hip-hop world because this wasn't tabloid drama or internet controversy anymore. This was real violence, police investigations, and attempted murder charges attached to one of rap's fastest-rising female stars. The image changed instantly. One moment, Remy Ma was performing in music videos and building her career. The next, she was standing in court facing the possibility of losing years of her life behind bars. Headlines about prison sentences completely replaced headlines about music. Fans watched one of hip-hop's most promising women become another celebrity consumed by criminal chaos. Then came prison. Remy was sentenced to several years behind bars, effectively destroying the momentum of her career at its peak. By the time she was released, the music industry had already moved on to new stars, new trends, and new names. What made the downfall so brutal was how quickly it happened. Remy Ma didn't slowly fade away from fame. She went from rising rap star to prison inmate almost overnight, turning one violent moment into the scandal that permanently changed her legacy. 10. Azealia Banks. Azealia Banks once looked like one of the most exciting new artists in music. She was talented, fearless, stylish, and completely unpredictable in a way that made people pay attention instantly. Songs like 212 turned her into an internet sensation, while critics praised her as someone who could become the future of female rap if her career kept growing. But the chaos surrounding her quickly became bigger than the music itself. As her fame increased, Azealia became known less for hit songs and more for explosive feuds, aggressive behavior, and non-stop controversy online. Almost every few months, there seemed to be another scandal involving racist comments, celebrity attacks, public meltdowns, or accusations of violence. Then came multiple incidents involving physical altercations and arrests that pushed her reputation even deeper into disaster territory. The internet turned against her fast. Instead of looking bold and rebellious, Azealia started looking unstable and self-destructive. Interviews became uncomfortable. Industry relationships collapsed. Collaborations disappeared. Even fans who admired her talent admitted the constant chaos was becoming impossible to defend anymore. What made her downfall especially frustrating was how much potential people believed she had. Many critics genuinely thought Azealia Banks could have become one of the defining artists of her generation. But every comeback attempt seemed to end the same way: another fight, another scandal, another public explosion damaging her image even further. Because eventually, the controversy became her identity. And once that happened, the music almost stopped mattering at all. 9. Foxy Brown. During the late 1990s, Foxy Brown looked unstoppable. She was glamorous, aggressive, and helped turn female rap into something darker and more dangerous than mainstream audiences were used to seeing. With hit collaborations, platinum albums, and a larger-than-life image, Foxy became one of the biggest women in hip-hop, while the industry treated her like a future legend. But outside the music, her life was becoming increasingly chaotic. As the years passed, Foxy became surrounded by constant legal trouble involving fights, assaults, probation violations, and violent confrontations. Stories about arguments turning physical followed her everywhere, making it feel like controversy was slowly taking over her career. Then the arrests started piling up. The most damaging scandal came after multiple incidents involving assault accusations and violations connected to previous legal cases. Suddenly, one of rap's most famous women was facing jail time while headlines described courtroom drama instead of music success. The downfall felt messy and exhausting. Unlike some celebrities destroyed by one giant scandal, Foxy Brown slowly collapsed through years of nonstop chaos. Every comeback attempt seemed to lead to another fight, another arrest, or another controversy damaging her image all over again. What made the situation even sadder was how quickly the music industry moved on. At one point, Foxy Brown looked like one of the defining female rappers of her generation. But after years of violence, legal trouble, and instability, she became remembered more for criminal drama than the career that once made her famous. 8. Da Brat. Da Brat made history long before the prison sentence. During the 1990s, she became one of the first female rappers to achieve massive commercial success while still keeping a hard, aggressive image. Backed by Jermaine Dupri and surrounded by hip-hop royalty, Da Brat looked like someone built for a long career at the top of the music industry. Then one violent moment destroyed that momentum completely. After an argument inside an Atlanta nightclub, Da Brat attacked a female hostess with a glass bottle during a brutal altercation that shocked the public. The injuries were serious, and the case quickly turned into one of the ugliest celebrity assault scandals in hip-hop at the time. The backlash was immediate. Instead of appearing in music headlines, Da Brat suddenly appeared in courtroom coverage while prosecutors pushed for serious punishment. Fans watched a successful rapper with money, fame, and industry respect throw everything away over one uncontrolled outburst. Then came prison. Da Brat was sentenced to years behind bars for the assault, effectively freezing her career while the music industry moved on without her. By the time she returned, hip-hop had changed completely, and the momentum she once had was almost impossible to rebuild. What made the downfall feel so tragic was how avoidable it seemed. Da Brat didn't lose her career because audiences stopped loving her music. She lost it because anger and violence turned one night of chaos into the scandal that permanently changed her future. 7. M.I.A. M.I.A. became famous by looking completely different from everyone else in music. Her sound was chaotic, political, rebellious, and impossible to predict. While most pop stars carefully protected their public image, M.I.A. built her career by provoking people on purpose. That danger made her feel exciting. Songs like Paper Planes turned her into a global star almost overnight, while critics praised her as one of the boldest artists in modern music. But eventually, the controversy surrounding her became bigger than the music. As her fame grew, M.I.A. became increasingly associated with political extremism, aggressive public statements, and non-stop backlash online. Then came the moment that seriously damaged her image forever. During the Super Bowl halftime show in front of millions of viewers, M.I.A. gave the middle finger directly to the cameras in one of the most shocking live television moments of the year. The fallout exploded instantly. Sponsors, television networks, and critics attacked her publicly while lawsuits and legal threats followed soon after. Suddenly, the artist once celebrated for being rebellious started looking reckless and impossible to control. Interviews became tense, public support faded, and many people in the industry quietly distanced themselves from her. What made the downfall so strange was that M.I.A. never seemed interested in calming the chaos down. Instead, she kept pushing further into conspiracy theories, controversial political opinions, and public feuds that made her image even more divisive. Over time, the woman once viewed as one of music's most innovative stars slowly became known more for controversy than creativity. Because eventually, the rebellion that made M.I.A. famous also became the thing that isolated her from the mainstream completely. 6. Billie Holiday. Long before modern celebrity scandals existed, Billie Holiday was already living one of the darkest downfall stories in music history. Her voice was haunting, emotional, and powerful enough to change jazz forever. At her peak, Billie wasn't just famous, she became one of the defining voices of an entire era while audiences packed clubs just to watch her perform. But behind the music was a life filled with addiction, trauma, and constant self-destruction. As Billie's fame grew, so did her heroin addiction and legal problems. Police raids, drug arrests, and criminal investigations slowly consumed her career while the government increasingly targeted her because of both her addiction and her controversial music. Then came prison. One of America's greatest singers was suddenly sitting behind bars on drug charges while her public image collapsed outside the prison walls. The contrast felt brutal. A woman once celebrated on glamorous stages was now being treated like a criminal, while addiction destroyed her health and reputation at the same time. The most disturbing part was how trapped she seemed. Even after her release, authorities continued monitoring her constantly while her addiction worsened. Club owners became afraid to hire her, opportunities disappeared, and the music industry slowly watched one of its brightest stars fall apart in public. Because by the end, Billie Holiday no longer looked like a legendary jazz icon. She looked like someone fame, addiction, and the system had completely consumed. 5. Janis Joplin. Janis Joplin didn't become famous by looking polished or controlled. She became famous because she looked completely wild. Her voice sounded raw, emotional, and almost dangerous, turning her into one of the biggest stars of the rock era during the late 1960s. On stage, Janis looked fearless, like someone living faster and louder than everyone around her. But off stage, the chaos was becoming real. As her fame exploded, Janis became heavily connected to drugs, alcohol, arrests, and non-stop self-destructive behavior. Stories about heroin use, reckless partying, and emotional breakdowns followed her everywhere, while the rock industry treated dangerous lifestyles like part of the culture itself. The problem was that Janis stopped looking like someone in control of the rebellion. Fans watched her performances become increasingly unstable, while people close to her worried addiction was consuming her completely. Arrests and public incidents only pushed her deeper into the image of a star destroying herself in real time. What made the downfall so tragic was how lonely it felt. Despite the fame, the success, and the attention, Janis often appeared emotionally exhausted and isolated from the people around her. The same pain that made her music powerful also seemed to be tearing her apart privately. And eventually, the chaos won. Because by the time Janis Joplin died from a heroin overdose, she had already become one of music's clearest symbols of fame, addiction, and total self-destruction. 4. Sinead O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor became famous by refusing to act like a normal celebrity. Her voice was emotional, haunting, and powerful enough to turn "Nothing Compares to You" into one of the biggest songs in the world. But what made Sinead truly different was how fearless she seemed. She openly criticized religion, politics, and the entertainment industry at a time when most stars stayed quiet to protect their careers. Then one moment changed everything. During a live television appearance watched by millions, Sinead tore up a photo of the Pope on camera in protest against abuse inside the Catholic Church. The reaction was explosive. Audiences were shocked, television networks panicked, and the music industry immediately turned against her. Almost overnight, Sinead went from respected artist to one of the most hated women in entertainment. Radio stations stopped supporting her. Public backlash became brutal. Crowds booed her during performances while celebrities openly mocked her career collapse. And as the years passed, emotional struggles, erratic behavior, police incidents, and public breakdowns only pushed her image deeper into controversy. What made the downfall especially disturbing was that years later, many people admitted she had been telling the truth about abuse all along. But by then, the damage to her career was already permanent. The woman once praised for her honesty had spent decades being treated like a scandal instead of an artist. Because in the end, Sinead O'Connor didn't just become controversial. She became proof that sometimes the public destroys people long before realizing they may have been right. 3. Monica. Monica became famous incredibly young. By her teenage years, she already had hit songs, major awards, and one of the strongest voices in R&B. Calm, beautiful, and mature beyond her age, Monica looked like the kind of artist built for a long and stable career while fans compared her to the next generation of music legends. But behind the success was a life surrounded by emotional chaos and violence. As the years passed, Monica became linked to repeated public conflicts, aggressive incidents, and disturbing personal tragedy that slowly changed how people viewed her. The darkest moment came when her former boyfriend took his own life in front of her, a traumatic event that permanently affected her emotionally and publicly. After that, the scandals and tension around her image only seemed to grow heavier. Stories involving fights, confrontations, relationship drama, and emotional instability followed her career, while the peaceful image audiences once loved slowly disappeared. Instead of looking untouchable, Monica started looking exhausted by years of pain and public pressure. What made the downfall feel different from other celebrities was how personal it seemed. Monica never looked like someone chasing chaos for attention. She looked like someone constantly surrounded by tragedy, anger, and emotional damage while trying to survive inside the spotlight. Because eventually, the scandals around Monica stopped feeling like celebrity gossip. They started feeling like the slow collapse of someone carrying far more pain than the public could see. So, Bad Baby. Before she was even old enough to legally drink, Bad Baby was already one of the most viral teenagers in America. What started as a chaotic appearance on Dr. Phil somehow turned into millions of followers, rap success, luxury cars, and internet fame powerful enough to shock the entertainment industry. People laughed at her at first. Then, she started making real money, real music, and building a fan base that followed every scandal nonstop. But the controversy never stopped growing. Unlike traditional celebrities, Bad Baby built her entire image around aggression, public fights, and internet chaos. As her fame exploded online, so did stories involving violent behavior, police incidents, threats, and non-stop feuds with influencers and rappers. Nearly every controversy became bigger because social media turned her meltdowns into entertainment for millions of people. The problem was that the chaos started looking real instead of funny. Videos of screaming matches, accusations of abuse, public breakdowns, and dangerous behavior made critics question whether the internet was watching another young celebrity self-destruct in real time. Instead of growing out of controversy, Bad Baby seemed trapped inside it while fame made everything even worse. What made the situation especially disturbing was how young she still was during most of it. People weren't just watching a controversial rapper anymore. They were watching someone who became famous through public dysfunction before adulthood had even started. Because eventually, Bad Baby stopped looking like a joke from reality television. She started looking like another internet celebrity being consumed by the same chaos that created her fame in the first place. 1. Boy George. During the 1980s, Boy George looked larger than life. With Culture Club dominating music charts around the world, he became one of the most recognizable stars on the planet. His voice, fashion, and androgynous image made him feel completely different from anyone else in pop music. At his peak, Boy George wasn't just famous, he was a cultural phenomenon who helped redefine celebrity itself. But behind the glamour and fame was a much darker reality. As the years passed, addiction and erratic behavior slowly took control of his life. Drug problems, emotional instability, and public incidents began surrounding his career while his once iconic image started collapsing under controversy. Then came the scandal that shocked even people used to celebrity chaos. A man accused Boy George of falsely imprisoning and assaulting him inside the singer's apartment during a disturbing incident connected to drugs and paranoia. The story exploded across headlines immediately. One of pop music's most beloved icons suddenly became associated with handcuffs, criminal charges, and courtroom drama instead of hit songs. The details sounded disturbing enough to permanently damage his reputation, while critics questioned how someone once celebrated for creativity and freedom had become consumed by addiction and control. Then came prison. Boy George was sentenced to jail, completing one of the most shocking celebrity downfalls in music history. The contrast felt surreal. Fallon shocking, IF. A man once treated like pop royalty was now sitting behind bars while the public watched his image completely unravel. Because in the end, Boy George didn't just lose control of his career. He became proof that sometimes the same fame that turns people into icons can also hide the darkness destroying them privately for years. Hollywood and the music industry turned these women into icons, then watched many of them collapse in front of the entire world. Some were destroyed by addiction, some by violence, and others believed fame could protect them from consequences until the scandals became too big to hide anymore. But maybe the most disturbing part is this. A few of these singers became even more famous after their downfall than they ever were before it. So after seeing all 20 stories, which female singer do you think had the most shocking collapse? And which one do you believe never truly recovered from the scandal that changed her life forever? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more dark Hollywood stories the industry wishes people would forget.